James with Team RXP Catch Cans, catchcans.com, and I have this 2017 Ford Transit with a twin can 2019 twin can kit on here. And I want to explain, I did a video on the clean side, factory clean side end, which is over here. And this is a 3.5 liter. The 2.7s and the 3.5s are pretty much the same. Explorers, Expeditions, SHO, F-150s. They're pretty much the same, except the 2011 through 14s did not have this little map sensor in the line coming off the factory fresh air in. Now it does. And that little guy was giving a lot of companies check engine lights, but not us. What I want to talk about, this kit's already installed. I don't want to do an install video. Obviously it's already installed, but I just wanted to explain where these hoses go, because I have some guys asking about, you know, how to hook these things up. And the center line of the big can goes to the passenger valve cover. No check valve. The outside lines of these large cans are interchangeable. They're both made as vacuum sources to, you know, suck onto the can. And you have intake manifold vacuum right here, which runs around with the check valve. The check valve flows away from the can only into the can. And the other side of the can, you have a check valve and a line. It runs all the way over the top of the motor, all the way down to the turbo inlet with the quick connect that we supply. Now, this line used to be hooked up to your turbo inlet on the driver's side. And the way these things work, when you go into boost, this always is blowing vapors out of this line into the turbo and compressing it into the intercooler and bringing it all the way around into past the throttle body, into the intake and onto the valves. It's very bad. And on the passenger side, from the factory, there used to be a line coming off this quick connect. It's on all your guys' vehicles if you have one right now, and it used to go right to intake manifold vacuum, because these things, when they idle, they run just like a normally aspirated motor. There's vacuum in the intake manifold, the intake valves are opening, the pistons are going down. It's trying to inhale air on a closed throttle body, so it creates a vacuum in here which pulls all the vapors out of this line. And it was hooked up over here with the quick hose, and that was inhaling a lot of vapors out the valve cover, all onto your intake. So all we're doing is basically intercepting these lines. But how these things worked was, when you're idling, this was inhaling vapors through here, and this was pulling in fresh air from the turbo inlet. You were getting fresh air into the motor. And when you go into boost, there's a check valve in here, and we used to have a hose running off of here to here. Every time you went into boost, this would pressurize when the turbos boost, and there would be a check valve that closed, so you could not blow air into the valve cover and into the crankcase with the original hose. Now when you did that, the only place that the vapors had to go while in boost, while you're towing it in an on-ramp, and you know, these things spool pretty quick, so a lot of times you were in boost, that would blow the vapors out this driver's valve cover down into the turbo inlet, which is very bad. And it did that all the time, and it does that on every motor. What we do now with this new twin can system, we have this system has two cans. It has a mini can that we run with the fitting on top of the can, and we run that down to a hose with an adapter that hooks up to this line with a sensor in it, up to this valve cover. That is your fresh air into the engine. And the adapter we use, we're able to keep this stock map sensor where it's at, and the stock ID of the hose, and you won't get any check engine lights with our new setup and this twin can. But the reason why we did this twin can, and why it's so much better than the old breathers we used to run and put on this oil cap, is because of what I was just explaining with the boost situation and how this works. When you go into boost, the vacuum on the turbo, and I'm trying to figure out how to explain this, the vacuum that these turbos produce, when you hook this line up onto the main can that we ran down there, this line used to be hooked to it, we hook this line up onto the main can with the check valve in it. This turbo will spool and it will pull a little bit of vacuum, probably about 1.5 inches, but it's not as much as people think. And a lot of customers were asking to tee off of this and run it down to the passenger turbo. That does not help. When you tee off of this line, you run it down to the passenger turbo, at the actual T junction, the both turbos will pull on each other and it will stall the signal at the T. So most people think that, hey, we're getting double the signal of the vacuum signal. It doesn't help that way, or work that way, I should say. But customers started doing it, and we used to send the T's with the kits, but it's not necessary. The drivers are sufficient for this setup. And anyways, what is happening is the crankcase always overpressures the vacuum signal. So basically, on the twin can setup, you have 2 relief valves basically on your valve covers. And the line going to the turbo inlet is a relief. When you're in the boost, it lets it go through the can. It exits out this passenger valve cover. It actually works this way at idle too, but when I'm just talking about boost right now, it exits out this line into the center of the can, and it blows it through this line on the outside line of the main can down into the turbo inlet. And this check valve is closed when you're in that mode, because this is manifold vacuum, and the check valve closes when this thing goes in the boost. There's an extra added one in here for safety from the factory. But when you go in a boost, that takes out the vapors, and also now this side takes out the vapors, runs it down the line through the adapter, up the hose, and into the mini can. Now, I just had an email just a second ago about a guy complaining about oil on the air filter, and that's what the old breathers we used to run that replaced the oil caps. They didn't catch anything. That's why we went to this new design with the mini can on here, and it's a twin can system, and it's really the way to go. And it's inhaling fresh air from the filtered box, and it's also trapping oil from getting to the filtered box. And of course, it's different if you have a different vehicle, but I just kind of hope that video helped out, because I wanted to explain it a little bit better. I had some people asking about you know, how to hook up the main can, and it's very, very easy once you understand the concept of this, how it works, how vacuum works, how flow works, and it's a pretty simple setup. But hope that video helped you guys. We're going to get some more GM stuff up here pretty soon, so thank you.